And I know this is Judson, so it takes a second. Hey. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. We are gathering on the main floor of the meeting room to celebrate the Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly. I hear it starting to get a little quiet again. All right. As soon as the Reverend Doctor makes her way back up to the front of the room, maybe that'll be the model. Hey. Reverend, we're ready for you. Okay. Hi, diaspora folks. Good to see you. All right, in about 45 seconds, I'm going to ask for quiet in the back. So either you're going to be sitting on the main floor here and paying attention, or you'll just have to be quiet under the balcony. I recommend coming onto the main floor. All right, everyone, it is my honor to pull us from that reception moment in the back, which has been beautifully crafted. Just, ooh, what a wonderful, I love it. The acoustics in this space. Listen for a sec. All right. So we are gathering again on the main floor here to give a lot of toasts to this amazing, amazing woman of faith and freedom and love who has guided us through years of community and faith in this space. But before we turn it over to the folks who will be giving tribute to Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly, I would love for us to give a round of applause to Peggy McNamara and Valerie's PPRC for that amazing, amazing reception that they've crafted for us. Feel free to go back there and continue to get food as we move through this program. But if we haven't met, my name is Micah. I'm one of the ministers here at Judson, and I have had the honor of not only working with the Reverend Doctor, but I've known her since the spring of 2011, even before she came to Judson. And I want to paint a little picture for you. I was studying at New York Theological Seminary, and I was a little timid, and I was sitting in the back corner of a class, and this woman got up in front of the class and led us into class with the most stirring devotional that I had probably ever heard in my life. And I know that I looked at her and I thought, that is somebody. That is somebody I need to know. And little did I know that we would be working together within the next couple of years. So I will save some more of my remarks and words for the end of this program. But I know that it has been years of ups and downs and sideways, and many of those sideways things have been thrown your way by me. So this is a moment of confession and also a moment of begging for and thanking you for your grace, Reverend Dr. Valerie Holly. You have been a blessing to this place and a blessing to my life. So to start off the rest of this program, I want to invite back up Valerie's niece, Jeannie, who's going to kick us off with some toasts.
Afternoon, Judson family and friends again. I was asked to give a few words about my aunt, and I asked if I could go first because I got to get back home to do Father's Day celebration for my husband and my son, actually. My aunt, from the time that I can remember, she was a handball player who I was like, handball, that's right up my alley. Let me see if I can get a few techniques. She was always very positive, I found, and very encouraging. And, it's like, you can do it. Why would you think you can't do it? You try and, okay, so you failed or you fell or it didn't work exactly right. Get up and do it again. And sometimes we need somebody that we trust and love to just say, get up and do it again. I told this story a long time ago, when before she came out, long time ago now, she used to have the tallest, most gorgeous, yummy looking men. And I was like, man, oh man, when I get older, I need that tall, yummy looking like that, So my husband is 6'5.5". Hence all the tall children in my life. But when she, being black and living in a ghetto community, I thought my community was awesome, but, others looked down upon it, frowned down upon it. But as I got older, I looked around, not a lot of us, not in New York anyway, were going to college. My aunt went to college. I was like, wait, what? Oh, we can do that. Well, then if she did it, I know I could do that, Always I have been trying to follow in her footsteps. She's always had the bar here. And, I'm a few years younger than her, and I'm like, that's a good role model. I can reach that bar, and I can try to reach it. Even if I don't make every rung on it, I can always reach for it. And when she became a minister, now I wasn't trying to reach for that, still ain't trying, but my husband is. So what that taught me, just watching her, she always did things in love. She was always encouraging, and she was like, you show people that love is here, love is available, and that I really care about you, and I'm really going to try to help you find the solution. Even if I'm not the solution, I'm going to connect you to the solution. So that was something. That's a hard goal to reach, because sometimes, folk can step on your bad toe and make you not want to help or find the solution or just turn your back. And she was like, no, that's not what you do. And certainly if you are of Christ, you absolutely do not do that. Always reach a hand out. She always has a hand out. She always has something, a word of encouragement, a hug, a love, a smile. Sometimes you don't even know what your smile does for people. And that's something that I hope I get it from her. I hope I've learned that lesson. I hope I'm able to give that lesson. I hope I'm able to be that joy for someone. I hope that sometimes when I see another sister, I can just say, oh my gosh, I love your hair. I love your outfit. I love those shoes. And let me just say, Some of the brothers, I'd be like, I love your shoes. I love your outfit. God is love. And she keeps telling me, God is love. And love is kind. And it's good. And it's joyful. And sometimes you just don't know what someone looking at you today would just need a smile or a hug or, willing to, someone has their hand out to me. Just remember that. And I get that from her. And I hope that when I get to be her age and further on, she keeps on moving the bar higher. And I keep reaching and then she moves it a little higher. And I'm like, I'm only 5'1", people. Okay. When I take off my heels, I'm just 5'1". But as long as I keep reaching, she just has been an awesome role model. So that's it. I'm done. I thank you all for loving her and taking care of her and your prayers and your well wishes for her. Be blessed.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. And Reverend Doctor, I didn't know that I needed the image of you flanked by yummy-looking men to put into my memory bank, but I'm glad that's there right now. So you got photos, I'd like to see them. Thank you. So now the rest of this program is dedicated to a journey through your Judson life. So the woman who's about to take the stage now needs no introduction to this space. Her voice and her spirit have blessed this space on many an occasion, but it is my true honor to welcome to the Judson stage the amazing Michelle Yvonne Thompson.
Good afternoon. Y'all can hear me all right? Yes. My sinuses are kicking my butt every day, most days, but today especially, so y'all forgive me if I'm not projecting. But I'm so happy to be here with you all, most especially to honor Reverend Holly, someone, let me not look at you because we're crybabies, but someone who has been integral to my formation as a spiritual leader, a person who has ran from my calling for a very long time, but someone who always reminds me of love, of course, but to be attentive to the will of God, if you can discern it, and when you discern it, to follow, if you have the strength to. And if you don't have the strength to surround yourself around people who do. And she's one of those individuals in my life, and I just want to honor you today. I'm singing a song you all have heard many times, not accompanied by Hanku, but I'm grateful for Hanku stepping in and playing for me today. It's the Lord's Prayer. That's simply it. May God's will be done in your life forever and ever. May you trust that your path is already laid out before you, and just have a sense of ease. Take care of yourself. Go on a vacation. Do something for you and your family and your loved ones. So this is the Lord's Prayer. I'm dedicating this to you, Reverend Holly. Love you very much. God bless you always. Our God, which art in heaven, oh, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven, let it also be on the earth. As it is in heaven, let it also be on the earth, our God. Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. As it is in heaven, let it also be on the earth. As it is in heaven, let it also be on The earth give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all manners of evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Yes, thine is the kingdom and the power, the glory. Yes, thine is the kingdom and the power, the glory, the glory. Amen. 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 As it is in heaven, let it also be on the earth for you. As it is in heaven, let it also the earth. As it is in heaven, let it also be on the earth. As it is in heaven, let it also the earth. Beautiful Henku. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And now, you had Eugenia before, and now we've got Eugene Bailey coming up to this podium to preach a word.
Grace and peace, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Father's Day. If you're a father, if you're a stepfather, if you're a surrogate father, if you're a foster father, if you're a father, just happy Father's Day. You enjoy your day. I consider this also an honor and a privilege to stand here to acknowledge my Aunt Valerie. I was saying to my niece, April, who's back there one time, I seen her, it was recently, I said, hey, you know what, April? It seems like I only see you doing funerals, you know? And we were particularly at one funeral, and I didn't get up and acknowledge my brother who was, who had transitioned to the next life. And I felt that, I felt it. I didn't have the courage. So sometimes we want to do things and we say, hey, I'm not tall enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not witty enough, I'm not comical enough, I just don't do nothing. So I came here again to support Valerie, and I just wanted to acknowledge her because I don't remember a time in my life not loving my aunt, because she's always been there for me. And my sister Jean, she was absolutely right. Valerie set the bar, and it was very high. And by the way, Jeannie as well, because I stayed with my mom. You should be more like Jeannie and Valerie. And hey. So we all got our gifts, talents, and abilities, and we all have our own path. God predains that and predestines us to walk our own path. And he took me down some roads, and just as Valerie, with her message just now, the Lord said to Moses, I'll be with you. I know God was with me. Amen. And some of those times with me, when it seemed dark and lonely, I had Valerie for support to help me get through some of those periods in my life. You know, without being condescending, without being critical, there was some tough love there, as it always was. If you're in our family, you know it's Valerie's being like not the soft one, not the pushover one. May she rest in peace. My other aunt was one thing, but Valerie we took serious. And now that she's you see that God is using her, you know, I encourage you also to take her serious because she's a serious woman, person, a woman of God. I don't know what else to say, but I didn't want to leave here and drop the ball and say, man, I should have got up and said something because I love you so much. And I see the growth and the wisdom and the insight and the understanding, all of that God has blessed you with and has endowed you with. And hey, you know what? You got the scholastic education, but then you got some other stuff too that just puts inside of us. You know, I'm a big word guy, and it's a very, very familiar word. And that word is sophistication. So according to Webster's and American Heritage and Oxford, and I cross-referenced them, one of the definitions of being sophisticated is not that sipping a cup of tea with your pinky in the air, or I got out of this nice vehicle with a beautiful woman or a companion on my arm, or it's not that. One of the definitions of being sophisticated is being wise to the world through our wide experiences, right? So God takes us through these experiences. And it must be tough for me to just be quiet because somehow the words are escaping me. But I didn't want to drop the ball. I didn't want to let this moment pass without standing up here to acknowledge you in your walk with Christ. As a leader, as a pastor, as an aunt, for all the hats we wear, which, by the way, let's get back to that sophistication word. So as a writer, as a traveler, as a musician, as an author, as an athlete, the many hats we wear as a pastor, as a sister, as an auntie, that's what that's what makes us sophisticated. And she's one of the most sophisticated people that I know. And I'm glad to call her my aunt and leader and pastor. And so I just want to say that. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. All you gentlemen, enjoy your Father's Day. And Valerie, I love you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Thank you, thank you. And now we're going to move into a memory of how Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly came into our orbit, and that was through the community ministry program. And so we've got to kick us off in that section, Grace Goodman, who's done a lot of work with Reverend Dr. over the past few years in that realm, and followed by a video from a community minister, Surprise, who has a message for her. Come on, Grace.
All right. I first met this woman back in 2013, long before she was Reverend Dr. Valerie Holly, just Reverend Holly. And we met when you came in to interview as an applicant for the community ministry program. And I was impressed. This applicant not only had prior ministerial experience, but she was a trained social worker, experienced. And I knew that kind of experience could come in real handy here at Judson in a number of ways. Pastoral counseling and helping out in ministerial ways as well. And besides, Valerie struck me as just an all-round nice person, warm, sensible, open-minded, so we accepted her as a community minister. She stuck around for a couple of years, and after that she was still around, and after a while we hired her, and then she began sitting in on the community ministry program seminars on Friday afternoons, as the other clergy did. And I got to see her in action in that realm as well. And that experience, not only helping in the sessions, but also taking on a load of supervising some of the community ministers, helped prepare her for the time in 2021 when Donna retired and Valerie and Micah were left to handle the program. And Micah had COVID and Valerie had to lead. So for the next 2 years, she and later Micah as well ran the whole community ministry program. And I could watch how that went with her. One thing I noticed in particular, I was very impressed, was her social work skills that are just there and come out in the conversations. I could see that in the meetings, she could pick up on the community ministers' emotional underlying emotions, as well as listening to their factual reports and giving advice in that area. But she could respond emotionally, too, with skill and wisdom. I'd also have to say that I've been particularly pleased that we had Valerie with us in that program when we have also had other community ministers of people of color, many of whom come from a background of a church culture that's a little different from our normal Judson culture here. And I could see that at first those new people would often be a little confused, maybe even offended by what they were hearing here in this room. But Valerie understood all that. She had that background to call on. And she worked individually with each of these people and eased their transition into appreciating and even enjoying some of our more relaxed and open approaches to faith and life. So, Reverend Dr. Valerie Hope Holly, for myself and for Judson Church, I want to say thank you and all best wishes to you in your ongoing work of ministry, which I know you will always be doing, and everything else you do in your life. Have a great life.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. And folks, let's roll this recording from Elliot Weidenar.
Hi, folks. It's me, Elliot.
Hello, Judson.
Hi, folks. It's me, Elliot. Speaking to you not so live from Central Iowa. Reverend Valerie, Dr. McNamara and I talked a lot about speaking in this little video about your work with us community ministers. And as I thought about that, I realized that I couldn't quite divide who you are as a person from the work we do together, because you bring your whole self. So let me tell you, Reverend Valerie, what I think makes you a phenomenal pastor, a phenomenal theologian, and an all-around brilliant ministerial trainer. I can name a lot of qualities: your ingenuity, your integrity, your wisdom, your capacity to meet people where they are, to counsel people pastorally, to hold people, your capacity for joy, for fun, for laughter. All of those things are so necessary, and I hope that the Baptists recognize what a gem they found in you. As I was thinking of this, I was reminded of a poem from a friend of mine from back in our Tumblr days, which talks about kind people, which, whether you want to admit it or not, Reverend Dr. Valerie, I think that you are a very kind person. So, it says, "Kindness is often mistaken for softness. And let me tell you, friends, that is a mistake you don't want to make. Kind people are not born that way. They do not stumble into it. Kind people are forged in fire and darkness and imploding stars. They have steel cores. Throw a punch and you're going to break your hand. Kind people are kind because they know firsthand that life isn't." Reverend Dr. Valerie Holly, you are such an amazing mentor, such an amazing person. I look forward to whatever God has in store with and for you on this next leg of your journey. Judson will be a little less full without you. Sending so much love, and I hope you know that all of us here and all of us who have passed on to the next world are so immensely proud of you.
Thank you, Elliot, and love those creative video elements as well. So you've heard Ray already from this pulpit talk about Father's Day, and now he's coming back up to talk about the Reverend Doctor. Ray.
Thank you. I'm standing before you representing both the pastoral care team and Judson for this portion of the program. And a short personal anecdote which speaks so much to Valerie. Just this week, my experience working with her on what I presented as the sermonette, I said to her several days ago, "Shall I send this in to you so you can review it?" She goes, "Absolutely no. I trust you. I trust you." You instill trust, Valerie. You build trust. You lead by example with trust. And I think it was that sense of trust which drew me to Valerie when I had a family crisis and I needed powerful prayer. And I simply went to Valerie, and she most definitely led me in a powerful prayer that gave me great comfort that I will never forget and will take with me forward forever. So, more broadly, and on behalf of Judson, you get several gifts, okay? These are simple gifts, but I think and I hope will be impactful gifts. So you get a gift bag, first of all, to carry the stuff. And it's from the New York City Unity Project, in part because you instill unity as well and have led a life of unity for all of us. Now, within this New York City Unity Project bag, the first gift I find especially powerful because when you think about Valerie and Judson, you think about our roots here at Judson and how those roots grow and deepen with the right kind of leadership like Valerie brought to Judson. So, Valerie, in your name, through the New York Restoration Project, which was founded by Bette Midler, to bring green space and trees to under-resourced neighborhoods throughout New York City, we've planted a tree in your honor. And this tree will be planted by the Restoration Project with the following message. Reverend Holly, thank you for your service to Judson Memorial Church. May this tree exemplify the roots and shade you provided all of us at Judson and beyond.
Thank you. My God.
Stay up here because there's one more.
Oh, okay.
If we're talking about the trees and the roots and the shade and the comfort,
Wow.
I hope you also think about the sky and the heavens and the world beyond, because Valerie leads us there. And that led us to name a star after her. So we have a star certificate with the coordinates of RA19H 04M 55.2 South. It's in the star naming registry, and the star has been named Reverend Dr. Valerie Holy because you light up our lives. And although you are moving on, we'll look up and cherish the memories. And the instructions to find the star are included in the back of the frame with a coordinate, so you can put your phone up there, and I will do the same from the shores of Lake Huron and think of you when I look at the stars, as I hope all of Judson will as well.
Wow. Thank
So
you.
here, I think she wants to take a
Yes.
picture. Flip those
Turn it
around.
around. Oh, boy.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Wow. how beautiful. You know, only Judson is how we say that. Wow. Thank you.
So beautiful. We're going to call that star Hope for short. And if you didn't know this, that restoration project gift has special significance because the Reverend Doctor is not only a fan of yummy-looking men, but she is a fan of Bette Midler. Bette Midler is part of her creative theology curriculum. And now I'd like to, speaking of music, although I don't know that I see him, and usually he's wearing such a loud outfit that I can pick him out. Ah, there you are. Come up here, you beautiful unicorn. Henku Espag has some words.
I don't usually do public speaking, but for Reverend Valerie, anything. So I have my notes here. So for me, it's just been a great and amazing adventure and experience with Reverend Valerie from the beginning on. And she's always been quick to lend a shoulder, an ear to listen, and also just support in any way she can, both with administration, with the music, and in my personal life. And I'm really grateful for that. And very honored to have been working with you. Also, from the beginning, she's always promised me that she may just spontaneously combust into song at some point during services, and that is yet to happen. So you owe me, Reverend Valerie. And you're gonna have to come back now and present that solo to me, okay? She also introduced me to something very interesting, which is called liturgical mime ministry. And that is really fascinating. So I want you all to look it up. It's really cool. But that's all I will say about that. I'll really miss you, and I love you very much. And thank you for everything. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henku. And you heard their voices starting to creep in a little earlier, but now you get to hear the full recording from our co-moderators, LJ and Jason.
Hello, Judson. My name is Jason Sang. I am one of your co-moderators. I'm joined by LJ, your other co-moderator. We are both, unfortunately, unable to be in person with you as we celebrate Reverend Dr. Valerie Holly's many contributions to our beloved community. But you are close to our hearts in this moment, and we just wanted to convey our heartfelt bittersweet congratulations and celebrations for Reverend Valerie. I'll just say that I was trying to think of the ways, in many ways, which Reverend Valerie has affected and changed my life. One small way was actually the first time I heard her preach, and she called God, as we all know, Mother, Father, everything, God. That blew my mind open about the ways that we can find personal ways to speak directly to God, and the idea that God could be bigger than was too big for one word and for one kind of a relationship. That just was a wow moment for me. And then the other, I'm not sure if this is actually true, but I believe Reverend Holly put together a service for a Dr. King kind of remembrance, and we sang a song, a gospel song by I think Hakeem Walker, I Need You to Survive. And that song has been such a boon for me over the years, and I keep coming back to it whenever I need a pick-me-up. I've referred many of my friends and people to it. And so I want to thank Reverend Holly for that, the gift of introducing me to that song. I hope that's actually true, because I believe it's true.
Hello, Judson. I'm sad to not be in the building with you today, but happy to be here in spirit and on Zoom. Reverend Valerie, I have really delighted in getting to know you more as a co-moderator these past 6 months. I've been at church with you for so long and have been in the room with your preaching and your being a pastor in the space. And over the last 6 months, I feel so honored to have a peek behind the curtain. I've seen such humility from you. It blows my mind. You say so often in meetings, like, wow, I learned something today. I learned something new today. And you've been in ministry and in leadership for so long. And I really take that as servant leadership, that you are so open to learning and naming it and stretching yourself, even though you're so experienced, and you take on an approach with an open mind to so many conversations. I've so appreciated your humor. You're so funny, and this is something I feel like I've seen more behind the scenes, and I really enjoyed getting to see this true strength that just emanates from you through conversations. You have, as I'm sure so many people will mention today, really carried Judson during a really trying time. And you had Judson on your back as you trudged us through a desert. And I'm so amazed and not surprised to see that strength show up in so many other areas. And it's been such a gift to work closely with you. And Judson is so blessed by your presence here. I'm excited to see what you do next. And I'm so sure you will bless all of the people you're around. And we miss you all. Congratulations on all that you've done at Judson. Bye.
Thank you, LJ and Jason. And now, hot off another successful Kids Sunday, please welcome to the Judson stage the Grand Poobah of the Judson Sunday School, Andy Franz.
Yeah, you wait until after I talk. For years, most Sundays around 10 o'clock, Valerie and I have a sort of an informal meeting to talk about anything from religion to politics, but especially sports. And Valerie may have been under the impression that these conversations were being held in confidence. Oops. So I'm here to tell you one of Valerie's deepest, darkest secrets this morning. I don't think she should get out of here without acknowledging this. And I know that we all know Valerie to be this reverend for righteousness, someone who is fighting the good fight, has been fighting for decades for social justice for you and for me and for all those marginalized people who are depending on her for help. But I'm here today to tell you that as much as it may appear that Reverend Valerie cares for each and every one of us, I have it on the highest authority that in her heart of hearts, she would drop each and every one of us if for just one night she could exchange places with the point guard of her beloved Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry. As Valerie has told me many times, what is the worth of a soul in comparison to leading the fast break, plastic mouthpiece dangling out of the side of her mouth, pulling up for a 40-foot jump shot to win an NBA title? What is the value of feeding the homeless when she could simply feed small forward Klay Thompson and get an assist? I'll stop, because she had other things to say as well. And I'll be honest with you, I don't blame her. Because if you think for 1 minute that I would still be teaching the children of children I've already taught, if I could exchange places with the great quarterback for the New York Jets, Joe Namath, I can guarantee you I would not be here doing this job if I could do it. But I'm here to tell you about Valerie's love for basketball. You know her as the Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly. The H actually stands for hoops. And I just know that if she could, in her heart of hearts, she would exchange that black and white clerical collar that you've always seen her wear for those silky smooth blue and gold basketball shorts of the Golden State Warriors. And I just thought I would leave that image in your head. I asked God about this once. I said, you know, Lord, and we're pretty close because you don't get to be a grand poobah for 30 years without being pretty close with the big referee in the sky. But I asked God, I said, you know how much Valerie cares about basketball. Why didn't you make her the point guard for the Golden State Warriors instead of just another minister? And I'll tell you what God said. God actually answered me. God said this. God actually considered this. God actually considered making Valerie Hope Holly the point guard for the Golden State Warriors. I'm in deep, by the way. I'm just going on to the end here. The only reason God didn't do it is because of Valerie's propensity for long prayers. The Golden State Warriors were destined for championships, but God feared that with Valerie leading the pregame locker room prayers as their point guard, they would never take the court on time. And that, my friends, is why we know Valerie as a prayer warrior and not a Golden State warrior. And Valerie is just that. She is a prayer warrior, and I think God made the right choice. I, for one, love listening to Valerie pray. When I hear Valerie pray, there is such sincerity. I know she means it. I know she believes in it. And I know that if God is listening to anyone's prayers, it's got to be Valerie's. Valerie's prayers are centered in faith, not faith in a desired outcome, but faith in the connection that in spite of our worst fear that we are somehow alone here in this meaningless universe, that somehow, some way, somewhere, there is someone listening to us, someone who cares. I don't want to overplay the metaphor, but listening to Valerie pray is a little like watching Stephen Curry play basketball. It is pure, it is beautiful to behold, and it will leave you believing. So Valerie, I want to thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you and tell you how much I will miss our Sunday morning pre-service conversations about basketball and football and baseball and everything else that we both love and, frankly, that we know so much about. Who knows more about sports than you and I? There's nobody. I thank you for sharing your gift of prayer with us over these years, as well as your many other gifts. We are a much richer congregation for your being with us these years. Please know that we will keep you in our prayers, and our great hope is that Valerie will keep us in her prayers. Amen.
Thank you so much, Andy. The Reverend Doctor's been trying to educate me for 10 years, and I still don't understand what a point guard even is. So, Andy, that was in a foreign language to me. I'll check in with you later. Now I've lost my place. Here we go. Holly Bean is up there, I believe, represented by Rethel, but look,
Greetings,
she recorded.
Judson. I'm grateful for this chance to sing praises for the Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly. Most of us will agree that what we see of our ministers on Sunday morning is only a fraction of what they do. Few of us can fully understand the extent of their work in ministry at Judson. Those of us who serve on committees or on the board or who volunteer may get glimpses of the work of ministry behind the scenes. And so today, I'm speaking to you from the glimpses I have had over the past years of Valerie's service to Judson. from a community minister to a full-fledged member of the senior clergy team. The word that comes to mind is faithful. Over her years at Judson, Valerie has accepted the roles that Judson has asked her to play with faithfulness. Sometimes these roles involve challenges, sometimes even sacrifice. The culture and traditions of Judson were not always those she had known as both a social worker and a minister elsewhere. But Valerie has stepped up and shown up every time. She brings a warm and friendly presence to Judson's life, and her faithfulness to her roles in ministry here, including more recently Chief of Staff, has not been easy. She served Judson during a difficult transitional time for this church. And Valerie serves all of us, congregation members, visitors, community ministers, all alike. In doing so, she has not withdrawn into a kind of clergy caricature, but has shared her humanity with us, a sign of trust and love. So Valerie has been faithful to us, to Judson. All through her time with us, Valerie has shown respect for the diversity of belief here at Judson, but it was always clear to me that she had her own central core of faith. I know that God was Valerie's guiding star, a God she has known and loved well before she ever heard of Judson, and a God who will continue to bless and keep her in the days ahead. I wonder if Valerie sometimes felt she was out on some bizarre mission field here, and I'll never know because she will never say. She keeps faith with her call and with her God. Valerie, saying thank you will never cover all you have done for Judson. Please do know that you leave a legacy of faithfulness and love here. We are all better for having had you in our midst. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Holly. And now we're momentarily going to open up this podium for folks on Zoom and then in person to share short tributes if you would like. But before we do that, we can't go forward without welcoming to the stage Peggy McNamara, who has walked side by side with the Reverend Doctor for years and has been the orchestrator of this beautiful event. So welcome, Peggy.
So I will pull it down. So this is a day that is, for me, coming to this day, has been both happy and sad. And I had hoped I might come up with a song, but one didn't come. So I owe you a song. I usually have a song. So I will work on that. But Valerie and I have known each other for almost about 10 years. So as Grace mentioned, Valerie was part of the community minister program, and in that early point in the community minister program, we had people in the congregation that were asked to support a person and actually to help that person to get to know the community. And so that's what Valerie and I did. And during that time, we got to know each other very well, found out similarities and differences, and then just began to really enjoy each other's company. And Valerie has always referred to me as her mentor. And I've seen her through her doctorate, and I've seen her through many changes that she went through. But recently she asked me to write a letter to support her ministry. And you know when you write something good, you don't need to write something more. So you just go with that. And so I'd like to read a little bit of the letter that I wrote to the Baptist. My relationship with Dr. Holly began when she became a community minister at the home church, Judson Memorial Church. Dr. Holly, as an individual who could bring many gifts to our congregation. Over the year of our mentorship, Dr. Holly not only found her way, but modeled for me deep spiritual practices. Her initiative and collaborative spirit led her to accept a clergy role as assistant minister and then associate minister. And Holly just mentioned her last as the staff. I don't remember all these titles, so staff. Thank you, Chief of Staff. I will use the words divine providence to describe how much I valued her presence in our community when the pandemic arrived at the door and our senior minister retired. She led the staff and congregation through some hard days of loss and grief with humility and grace. During our transition to Zoom, YouTube, she collaborated with congregants, staff, and clergy to make sure we had the inspirational and cogent service each week. For the Judson community, Dr. Holly was in the right place at the right time, and we continue to benefit from her presence as we engage in our transition processes to new clergy leadership. Dr. Holly has generously shared her cultural and religious practices, offering her unique and authentic ways to celebrate and worship while demonstrating openness, curiosity, and appreciation of differences in the congregants' backgrounds and spiritual pathways. Dr. Holly's ministerial approach is invitational and compassionate with a deep respect that people worship in the ways they need to. She exudes deep care for the congregants. Dr. Holly is scholarly in her approach to the Bible and avoids simplistic interpretations. When preaching, she focuses with care on the selected passage, mining the scripture for present-day connections and inspiration. During her ministry at Judson, Dr. Holly earned her Doctorate of Ministry degree, illustrating her passion and commitment to ongoing learning. So, Dr. Holly and I, or Reverend Dr. Holly and I, will always be friends. Yes. And I feel very grateful that you came here and that you influenced us. And as people have been talking about your legacy, that legacy will stay. But you will always be with me. And I feel like I won out. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And now we are going to first turn it over to the folks who are joining us by Zoom, led by our clerk, Matthew Nelson. So Matthew, if there are folks who would like to share something for the Reverend Doctor here, we will turn it over to Zoom first, and then of course we'll turn it over to the folks in person here. Thank you so much, Matthew. And now, much like we do on Sunday morning with celebrations and concerns, come on up on either side and let's say some more words and keep this conversation going and this celebration going for the Reverend Doctor. Please come on up.
Grace and peace. Bring greetings from West Haven, Connecticut. My name is Reverend Mary Stoutmeyer, and I had the privilege of coming in contact with Dr. Holly while I was a student at Harvard Seminary. They placed an ad in our school paper where there was a call out for interns to work with Dr. Holly at Danbury Prison. And right away, I got on the phone and I put in my call. I told our professor, I said, I want to be a part of that because in my community, I work with the reentry groups and those that are incarcerated. So he connected us, got the numbers together. I had an interview with her. I called her. And I remember because on this day she was moving and she was waiting on the cable person. But we was talking, and I let her know, that I was really interested in this position. And so she said, okay. So I came over to Brooklyn where we met. We found the diner, and we sat and talked, and she explained to me what she was doing there. And so I had to go through the vetting process, and I went through that. So it took a little while because it's federal. So finally they cleared me, and we sat up, and she let me know when I would meet. And as I was driving here from Connecticut this morning, I thought about when I got there to the prison, and I asked the guard, where it was. I had to check in. And so then he pointed me to a hill. And I remember standing back, and the hill was there. Oh, yeah. It was a hill. And so as time went on, and we would have the Bible studies. One particular day, we connected at the same time. So I said to Dr. Holly, I said, well, I'll meet you at the bottom of the hill, and I'll drive you up. So when you drive up, though, you come up on the other side of the building, and the women cannot see us come up on the other side. But when she comes up the mountain, that's what I call it, a mountain, because that's what it looked like. They can see her come up the mountain. So what struck me was, and it came to my mind, the scripture, because when we was talking about this day, I said, well, Dr. Holly, your steps are ordered, and I know that without a doubt about her. So when we got up to the top of the hill, I parked, and as we went in, all the women was facing the window because they was looking for her to come up. They had no doubt that she was going to come. It was expectation, like, where is she? Because they know a certain time she would come up the mountain. And it just struck me the love and just the expectation of what they knew was to come when she stepped in the room. Because when your steps are ordered, she was talking about the power today, but when you step in the room, you have that power, you change the atmosphere. So when Dr. Holly stepped in the room, they knew it was well. They felt the freedom, they felt the love, and we would share, and it was just a great time of sharing the scriptures, daily practices of daily life, because she did have a way to bring it in, like someone said today, and I saw it, I learned from her. I was like, wow. And but it just struck me was like no obstacles for her. She would take that hill. Sometimes I'd get there afterward because I was coming from another way. She would already be in the room. She had taken that hill to get to them. And that's just the passion I see and the love and everything that she does. Me, myself personally, last year I had an injury. I was going through a really tough time. I tell people, sometimes people of our faith, they don't want to declare when something's really wrong to anyone else, but I find I'm going to get help. I'm going to be like Peter. I'm going to call out for help. But then you start thinking, well, who can I call? And I called Dr. Holly, and I told her what was going on, and we talked, and like he was talking about a prayer warrior, yes, she is, and she gets results. So I talked to her about what was going on. And she just led me in a time of prayer. And as I stand here today, I want to tell you the injury was healed because I was having an injury where the doctors didn't know if I would recover because of my age and because of the injury. And I tell you, when I went back, the doctors couldn't hardly believe it. Because they was looking for me to come in another way because I actually dislocated my shoulder. And when you dislocate your shoulder, you know, your nerves are under here. So all my nerves were damaged. And so I couldn't move it. I couldn't do none of this. Glory. I can do this. We sang that song. If I couldn't say a word, I would wave my hand. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm doing this. Thank you, Jesus. Really, I'm like, thank you, Lord. But this day I called, I couldn't move it. It was nothing happening. And when I went to the neurologist, he said, we'll see what happened, you know. He said, because this type of injury in your age, we don't know if your nerve's going to regenerate. And then there was some financial things going on because of the injury. Unemployment didn't want to cover me. But as I stand here I tell you, God is good. And I thank God that he uses his woman servant. And I just love you. I can wave this hand. Bills are paid. Glory. And I just love her. We became great friends. And I remember we laughed because she liked the Golden State. I like the Lakers. I'm a Laker fan. So one day we was talking and they was going to play. And I told her, I said, the Lakers going to win. And she was laughing. And they did. They did that day. But we thank God. And then we talk about, you know, different TV series, because she's a friend too. And we can just talk about things. And I just love that you know who God brings in your life for this season of your life. Seriously, I'm just so thankful just for her friendship, her guidance. You know, we talk about everything. And I just thank God. I wouldn't have missed today. But as I was coming, I was laughing about that mountain, because I said, that's a mountain. I said, we're going to be hiking. But it was a hike for a good situation. And the only reason why I stopped because of COVID. And when they shut down the prisons, we had to stop. But I always will remember that time we spent that day at Danbury Prison, and her love and her passion. And I know your steps are ordered, because everywhere you step is a blessing. I love you, sis.
I'm Keenberger. I was the moderator when everything got very crazy here. Not only did COVID keep us all, you know, wondering what was going to be next. Remember. I mean, we just were like stunned, deer in the headlights. And you know, Reverend Scopper had already, just a few months before, announced that she was going to a different place. I mean, it was like, what? And then Micah got COVID. We thought he recovered, but no, this long COVID that we didn't even know existed took him really hard. And like Valerie and I was moderator, as you know, looked at each other and said, what on earth? And luckily, you know, as many people have said, God has a plan. God put Valerie there. And I remember two moments that were like, whoa, we made it. One of them was when Robert Rowe, who is chair of the personnel committee, and I and Valerie were in the office, and he said, you know, we need somebody in charge. Valerie, would you do it? And she said, yes. Whew. We didn't know how lucky we were, but boy, and that was not what she signed up for. Chief of staff, who knew what that was? None of us, but luckily she figured it out. And there was one other moment when I was so struck by how wise she was. And that is, we did figure out we needed some online presence somehow. What are we going to do? Online coffee hour. And we had people here and people there. And she said, you know, we really need to have a clergy person or a person in charge of that online group. That was her brilliant, inspired idea. And from that moment on, there always was somebody, like today it was Reverend Nelson, but it was somebody who really understood how to minister to the people who were online. And that was Valerie. So many other things that people have said, but I saw it happen, and I was so thankful to God, to Judson, and to Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I say this with a sense of pride and possession, but beyond Valerie's family, I've known her longer than anybody. And when the choir director was saying today he was hoping that she would, waiting for her to break out in song, Val can sing and I cannot. But we would often find ourselves in her apartment and she would suddenly sing, Oklahoma, sweeping down the plain. Yes, 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 yes. But when I think about Valerie, excuse me, I know she's Reverend Doctor, but she's Valerie right in this moment. Val and I have known each other through good times, bad times, dark times, and God has always been present. As a matter of fact, I tell everybody, Valerie, my relationship with Valerie is one of the, probably the only outside of my own family that has been anointed by God. As a matter of fact, I've known Val, as I said, since 1992. But sometime in the late 70s, she was getting married. And I was on my way to my office, and God's Spirit said, go in that room. And I remember sitting in the room, and everybody's involved. And somebody said, well, what are you doing in here? I said, I'm here because God told me to come in here. Nobody said anything else. And from that moment on, we have walked through life like this. We have walked through life like this. Valerie, when her nephew called her sophisticated this morning, and he gave us the true definition of what that is, that typifies her. Valerie's discipline physically. Every morning I get up and I think of her because Val would go to the gym, come hell or high water, hot or cold, and I say to myself, this is the day I'm going to the gym, and it's 12 o'clock, and I've not moved from where I was when I said I'm going to the gym. But I think about Valerie. Her studiousness. Valerie was working, I think you were in your demon phase, and we began to talk about church history. She turned the book down, because she can bust on me every now and then. She said, why don't you have an advanced degree? Because I'm not a good student like you. Although I will say my grandniece was the commencement speaker at her baccalaureate graduation. And every day I would say to myself, I'm gonna get me a funny hat. And I have to say, I actually, after John Day got up and spoke, and she really referenced me, I said to my niece, it's time for Gail to go for the funny hat. But particularly with her time here through Judson, I didn't realize until today it had been, 12 years? 10 years. But I remember when she started this whole program, and I was honored. I cannot tell you how honored I was that she asked me to be on her doctoral team. That was such an honor for me. Oh, you mean for the doctor? 6. Yes. But when she got that, when they put that hood on her, and she received that degree, I felt like I had, because there was a piece of me in there. I mean, when I tell you I love this woman, I cannot begin to explain how much. And my mother, who was kind of at, the December place of her life and a little bit of dementia, but she can still tell you about Valerie with such lucidity that is unbelievable, that gives you a sense of who she is, the core of who she is. God has made it so that there were times when I had nothing and Val had, and it was reversed, and we were always there. I will forever love this woman. I have the greatest respect for her, and all that you have all said today, as they would say in social media, no lies detected. I feel blessed that God put us in our path together. And so, yes, I don't care who comes, what new friends she gives. Well, Gail going to take that space, and I ain't got no issue with that. Thank you for just being my friend for all these times.
Hi, I'm Jane Truehold, she, her. So I don't have any really funny story like all of you who are. But I wanted to attest to Valerie's heart and her perceptiveness and her willingness to adapt to situations. And it goes way back. It was, I think, the year after you were community minister and you were still here.
It was actually 2 years later.
2 years later.
Yes.
Yeah. And my daughter was up visiting after Christmas, and one of her very good friends' husband had fallen off a ladder at their house and died, and they had 2 children. And my daughter, who had not set foot in any sort of religious institution since she graduated from Unitarian Sunday School, is not religious. None of my kids are. And she said, but she knew I was very active here at Judson, and she said, did I know somebody who the family could talk to? And I called, I guess, Donna, who was then our minister, and she was out in California, but she said I should get in touch with Valerie Holly, which I did. And Valerie talked to Dana, my daughter, and I had said she's not religious, understand. And Dana just to this day raves about how helpful Valerie was. And I think you talked to the family also. And she was just met them where they were and gave them what they needed, which was faith to go forward. Put one foot in front of the other and keep going, and whatever their belief and faith system was. So thank you. I just really appreciate that. Thanks, Valerie.
Hi, everyone. Lance. Normal, I guess, traditional pronouns. Traditional pronouns, but I answer to all. It's fine. This is, I won't even say bittersweet. This is just bitter. This is sad for me. Just very emotional. Valerie, what you've meant to me being here, your presence alone, the way that you preach and the stories you tell, the lessons that you share, makes Judson feel more like home to me. I don't know what Judson's, I can't even really imagine Judson without you. I don't even know how I see myself here without you. You mean so much. Just your being here. Some of the stories you've told are just so funny to me. I remember one time you were telling a story during one of your lessons, and it was something about, I think, an ex of yours, and there was a real meaning to the story. And I laughed at a part that was not the punchline. Apparently this person fell. I don't know if you remember this. The person fell or whatever, and I burst out laughing in the back, and the only person laughing. And I was like, I realized, wait, that's not a punchline. This is part of the story. This is supposed to be a compassionate moment, and I'm laughing. And I mean, it's more because like Valerie she tells these personal stories about herself, and she integrates her entire life into her sermons. And it just makes me feel more connected to her. And it makes me feel as though, okay, this person is sharing their lives with us. It's not just a job to her. This is her story. This is her faith story and her life story. And just, I don't know. I remember I was on the search committee, and so for a year and a half, we were looking for the next minister. And early on in the process, David and myself, we interviewed people to get a sense of what it was like. And that's when I got to see the behind-the-scenes Valerie that I didn't know. I just knew the fun Valerie that made me feel fun and welcome here. And then I learned what she did. And I was so humbled and honored to know that she sacrificed so much and took on far, far more than what her job description ever entailed to keep this church going during a really dark time for us. And I'm so grateful that you are here, that you've been a part of our lives for the past decade, and I'm just gonna miss you so much, and I'm thankful that you were here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Reverend Valerie Holly, I don't want to be before you all too long because I know we got places to be, but this is a very special moment here too. I want to say that I had a history with Dr. Reverend Valerie at our Unity Fellowship Church, where I'm still a trustee there, and she was our pastor. She was our senior pastor there, and that's when I first learned of her leadership. And not only through the church, but also we developed a personal relationship by her introducing herself to her. Introducing me to her family, which I had a chance to meet her mother. You know, very spiritual woman, just very loving. I just wish you all could have had a chance to have met her too. Now I see where Dr. Valerie get a lot of her characteristics from. But I just want to speak forward to here at Judson. You know, I've been the, I don't want to say like the taxi person, but, you know, Dr. Holly entrusted me to get her to Judson safely and on time, and then get her back home. And in between those travelings, we became even closer. So even during the time when I lost my grandmother, Dr. Holly and Linda, they have been so supportive, and Dr. Holly's family, her nieces and nephews, been so supportive too, and it's gotten to the place where I just say, you know what, Lord, I thank you for families. I thank you for the extended families that's here in New York, and Dr. Holly, you're one of them, and you've always been supportive, whether it's work-related or anything personal in my life. I know I can share with you, and you're always giving words of encouragement, and you're never judging. So, and I'm just so grateful that to have someone like you in my life. And my family back home, my dad and my sister, they know that they're in good hands because I'm with Reverend Valerie, Dr. Reverend Valerie. So we love you. And I thank you for being that bridge to connect me to Judson, to meet such wonderful people here. I would still like to be able to come and visit and just be a part of the service too some Sundays. And you guys are awesome. Thank you.
So, yes, if I could help someone, and I was majorly helped in a time of healing, in a very interesting way, because it was never direct. It was always there. It was just always there. And that is one of the most healing things you can feel. I am so happy that Dr. Holly has family and amazing friends, parentheses, Adrian, and she has a very powerful spirit. And I wanted to say I was joyfully sorrowful or sorrowful, joyful, but actually I'm really, really sad that she won't be here. Thank you.
I'm going to try to make this brief. So, some of you who might know me might know that sometimes my heart's pretty hard. And people speaking to me from the pulpit never really helped much, because I never could connect with them. I never could understand where they were coming from. I had no idea what they were talking about half the time. Well, you softened my heart. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Judson, Diaspora, Rev. I met Rev in seminary. We were doing our Masters of Divinity together. God has a way of putting people in your life. You see, I had not accepted my daughter's same-gender loving life. And God put this beautiful woman in my life to show me God's immense love for everyone. She became my best friend, and I love her dearly. I will continue to keep her and her entire family in my prayers. Judson, you are losing a gem, and I know a lot of you know it, and some of you don't. But know this, that God has greater plans in store for my bestie. She's done her time. She's done what God called her to do here. She's ministered to you all, and you all have ministered to her. And some of you with hard hands and spirits, and still through it all, she did what God called her to do. And I thank God for her and for her faithfulness, as somebody has said to God. I love you, sis. God bless you all. God bless you.
Good afternoon, Judson. Reverend Dr. Holly, so many people have said so many things about you. But one thing that really stood out to me was your level of commitment. I met Valerie 30 years ago. We've been in each other's lives 30 years. We got married before they legalized marriage back in 1998. And our relationship has been through many challenges, ups and downs, but she and I both remained committed to one another. I thank you for your commitment. I thank you for your willingness to say yes. I thank you because I have loved you before I met you. And I'm grateful that I love you today. And I always will be with you as God is with you. I love you.
This mic is still open. Powerful words have been spoken today. And we haven't closed the mic yet if others would like to come up. Okay. Then, Reverend Doctor, if you would come up to the podium. And I want everyone to rise in body and or spirit and just move a bit closer. Let's create a circle around this remarkable woman who has never failed to create a circle of love around us. To speak personally, and it's been named a few times today, but I have never, ever had a colleague that I trusted more, that when I knew that I was about to lose it and needed someone to just tell me that it was all going to be okay, and do that in the form of prayer, whether that end with an amen or whether it just be through a look or a smile, I've never trusted anyone more to do that for me than you. You have not only been a colleague, but you have been a pastor to me. You've been a friend to me. And I will miss doing this with you every day. But I know that we've already talked about the remarkable ways that you pray. And we're not going to make you pray today. I know this community has a habit of making you pray. So humbly, as we encircle you in love,
Yes.
and as I come before you, feeling more humble than I probably have ever felt in my life, with deep gratitude, not only for the last decade plus, but especially for the last 2 years. I want to offer a tiny prayer to you.
Right.
And I invite us to just, I know we're not at an ordination.
No.
But if you want to lay hands or what, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay? Come on up.
Okay.
We're in church.
All right.
This is a tiny prayer for Reverend Dr. Valerie Hope Hoops Holly.
Jesus.
May the potent power of your middle name, Hope, propel you into the next phase of your life and ministry. May you feel the path from here to there littered with the glitter of gratitude. May you never give up on the gay boys who just don't understand your sports analogies. May you feel the fierce freedom and faith that you have modeled for so many, holding you now, rocking you now, rocking you in ways that both comfort and compel you. And as you move through this threshold, may you continue to not only seek the hope, but be the hope you wish to see in the world, offering your characteristically kind, abundant, joy-fueled laughter, your generously vulnerable storytelling, and your sassily sacred prophecy.
Well,
Assured that should you ever need a boost of boldness, your Judson community is ready at any moment to follow your example, to be the wind beneath your wings, and to remind you just how unquestionably loved and utterly fabulous you truly are. Amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you, Micah. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Everyone. Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to miss you all.
You want to talk to us?
Well, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone. It's been a long day. I thank you all for staying out this late. I know you have a lot to do today. If it's just to rest, go ahead and do that. I am still doing a couple more days of work. Micah has me working next Sunday, but on Zoom. But I said that. I told him I would because he needed the coverage, and I said I would. It gives me another time to connect with some people. Well, we're not marching anyway, but we're here. God bless that. So I'm grateful for all of you. I really am. I've learned, as what was said, I am constantly learning. And as Grace said, when the place was offered to me, the thing I had said, look, I'm not going to any church that's going to beat people up from the pulpit. I can't do that. And my NYTS field placement lady had a letter from Donna in her hand. And she said, well, Valerie, there is a church that I know they won't do that to you, and they're in the village near Washington Square Park. And I said, well, they already won right there for me. They're right next to Washington Square Park. I'm good. And then when I learned what the church was, I was here once for a conference led by some very heterosexual individuals in school who were working at a place for LGBT homeless youth. And they were shocked the number of young people that were put out of their homes. And Judson, you allowed them to have their conference here. And so that's my first introduction to here. So that was with the conference. Two things stood out. Pastors, husband and wife from DC, came to speak and wanted to publicly apologize. I was crying because of the apology to the gay community. Later on, I learned I wasn't crying for. I'm already accepted by God. I don't need you to do that. But the other was this pastor, big-time pastor in Brownsville, who was here. He said, listen, I know the church has screwed around and messed you all up, but the church messed me up too. So I'm grateful to be here, And in terms of some of the people's interpretations, I've learned here. I've been challenged here I thought because of Linda and Noel and Adrian coming from Unity, I thought I knew social justice. No, I didn't. I learned social justice here. We had some stuff. We were doing things. We were doing HIV, and we were doing on-site nursing at our food pantry in East New York. Yet social justice from the vastness of that I learned here. That's what I learned. Thank you. And God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, y'all. Oh, man. Thank you. I will.
You need to hug each of us.
All right.